Hi, my name is John Keene, and I am a loan officer with Ticket Mortgage. I just wanted to come to you today and really talk about this is really kind of geared towards your first time home buyer, not necessarily somebody that has, purchased several homes in the past or maybe even their second or third home because you've kind of been through it. But I get calls all the time about people saying, what does it take to qualify for a loan? And really, there's about four things. The four things kind of bunch into a handful of different things, but what I want to do is just kind of go over them. The very first thing that any lender is going to look at is your capacity. So what is capacity? So capacity means, do you have the ability to pay back the loan? So in other words, they want to see, what your income is, your employment history. Do you have stable employment history? Sometimes even for your first time home buyer, you don't necessarily have to be on the job for 2 years. Like some people that are just transitioning out of college, for example, they actually have a degree program and then they go into their field of employment. And sometimes it can only be a month or so on the job. And being that you have the educational history behind it, it's still considered stable because you went through the time to become, like, say, a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer, and now you're actually in that field earning an income. So we're able to work around it for certain things like that. So, I mean, that's the first part, is the capacity. The second part is the capital. So what do we mean by capital? Obviously, do you have money for like a down payment, for potential closing costs, for any type of cost that goes into actually closing the loan? There's actually more cost to it than just a down payment. There's title fees, there's appraisal fees, there's costs for homeowners insurance to get started. And sometimes, just depending on your credit situation, there can actually be what's referred to as a reserve requirement. And what reserves are basically how many months of mortgage payments do you have in the bank. So sometimes the underwriters might request that you have 1 month. I've seen as high as 6 months. And even if you really were to look at some of they refer to as a jumbo loan, so loans that are north of certain figures, sometimes they require up to 12 months reserves. So it just depends on the specific situation. But your average first time home buyer, it's always good to have a little bit of cushion anyway. So, you want to try to have 1 to 2 months of reserves or mortgage payments in the bank after you've paid the down payment and the closing costs and so on. The third thing is actually going to be collateral. So what is collateral? It's the actual home or property that you're buying. So what the lender does is it goes out and we order an appraisal, and we make sure that the home is actually worth the value of what the purchase contract shows. So, and then also with an appraisal, it can also alert the lender and even the buyer and even the real estate agents to any potential issues there might be with the home. So like if their home might have roof issues, or the appraiser sees something like even mold or termites, or there's a number of things that an appraiser could point out, and it helps alert you to any potential issues with the home. I mean, of course, there's always home inspectors that go out, and I always recommend everybody get a home inspection before you get an appraisal order, because they really kind of dive deep into if there's any potential issues with the home at all. So that's the third thing that lenders or mortgagers look at. The final thing is your credit. Now, I'm sure that you've seen a wide variety of posts out there that say you have to have a 740 FICO, or you have to have a really high credit score, things like that to be able to get in a home. And, fortunately, it's not true. Now, don't get me wrong, the higher your credit score is, the potentially the better interest rates you can get, or potentially the lower the down payment might be. But you can actually get into a home with a credit score in between 620 and 640. And actually, in some government loan cases, you can actually get into a home with a credit score as low as 580. The biggest thing that you want to do is really contact your lender and talk to them about it. Your lender is your advocate. Like the loan officer that you're talking to, they're there to help you. And I get calls of people that saying that they're afraid to call the lender, but you don't have to be. We're actually on your side. We want to help you get into the loan. But like me, for example, I've had clients that have came to me with low credit scores and they couldn't initially get into the loan. And it's nice to be able to have somebody like me to help guide you through the credit portion, because what we can do is we have referral partners that we work with that can help fix your credit, or sometimes it can be something as simple as paying down a credit card that can bump your score up high enough to where you need it to be. So there's a lot of things that the lender can actually do to help you. But it's interesting because I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten people to say, man, I wish I would have called you sooner, or man, I was afraid that I didn't give you a call, or I was afraid to give you a call. So, and there's no reason for it. We are down to earth people. We don't judge you. We're just there to find out what your financial picture is. And actually, what we try and do is make your financial picture look as best as possible before it is even put in front of the underwriters. So the underwriters in a loan are somebody that, or the underwriters in a mortgage company are somebody that actually makes the decision. So they'll go and they look at all of your income documents, like your paycheck stubs, your W-2s, your tax returns, your bank statements, and they go through it to make sure that everything's in line. And then they actually go through your credit and they make sure that everything's in line there as well. Well, as a loan officer, our job is to make that package look as pristine as possible before it goes to them. So what we try to do is have really, just open conversations with our borrowers. Anything that the borrower has that could be a potential issue, we just try to find out up front and know, so we can get ahead of it before anybody else sees it. And or not necessarily that anybody else sees it, but that we can make sure we have a proper explanation for it, or maybe we have a way to remedy the situation before we go further, just to give you a better overall scenario. So those are really the four things about qualifying for a loan. There's different types of loans that kind of impact all of those. So you have your conventional loans, you have what's referred to as a jumbo loan, you have your VA loans, FHA loans, USDA loans. It sounds like there's loans for every type of situation, but there are, and being that there's different types of loans for every types of situations, all four of those things can change a little bit. So like for example, a VA loan, it doesn't require any down payment, but you still have to pay closing costs. And then an FHA loan only requires 3.5% down and plus closing costs. A USDA loan, believe it or not, is a zero down program. And so, there's a lot of different options out there. Even with your conventional loans, you can go for a 3% down conventional if you're a first-time home buyer, or you can even go for a 5% down conventional loan if you've bought homes in the last 3 years. So there's a lot of different things to mull over, but the number one thing I can tell anybody is, please don't be afraid to call your lender. They are there to help you. It doesn't matter what your situation is. You don't have to feel ashamed about anything. I promise you, any good lender has seen everything and they want to actually help you. So that's my advice to you. One last thing. This is my very first video, or actually my second video to my channel. If you can hit the subscribe button below, just below here, I think it's over here. If you can hit the subscribe button, I would appreciate it, just to get some more word out to people that might need some help. I hope everybody enjoyed this. Leave comments. Feel free to reach out to me. All of my links are in the bottom. And I hope everybody has an amazing rest of their day. Look forward to talking to you soon.